Rev up your engines!
Freshgen Cabrera says, love you, Scotty. What's your opinion on 2014 Ford Escape 1.6 Ecoboost Reliability? I would not buy one because they're not reliable. The smaller the engines get, and then they have a turbocharger and GDI injectors that can go over 1,000 pounds per square inch pressure, they all wear out early. I got one in the driveway right now. Thing only had half a quart of oil left. It had burned through all the rest of the oil and it only got 65,000 miles on it. They wear out faster. I would not buy one of those. A small turbocharged GDI engine, no, I would not buy one. If you don't mind a small size and lower power, go right ahead. But you don't want one that has GDI, and you definitely don't want one with a turbocharger. It's going to wear out faster. And it's fine in a small vehicle, but you don't want it in a bigger one that's heavy. Ed Graves says, I got a 2016 Chevy Colorado with 43,000 miles. I have about 15K in equity. Should I go out now and buy a Tacoma? You could find some fool to give you $15,000 for it. Go right ahead. You got it. You might as well just drive it till the wheels fall off. They have no resale value. Then buy a Tacoma. Don't put a bunch of money into it, but if you can sell it for that kind of money, go right ahead. But unless you're living in a different place than I am, you'll never find anybody that would be sucker enough to pay 15 grand for that thing. Crimson Wolf says, Scotty, my dad has a 78 Camaro. He's giving it to me to modify as long as I pay for it. Do you think I should do an LS swap or rebuild the original engine? Oh, rebuild the original engine. Back in 78, they were making those V8 engines strong. Rebuild the original one. Don't put an L. You put an LS, you got to do a lot of modification stuff. It's going to cost a lot of money. A lot more horsepower. The transmission won't take it. It'll burn out everything. The rear end will go out. Very good engine that's in it. Just rebuild it. You know, you can't put a ton of horsepower in an old vehicle like that. It's not made to handle it anyway. Cyrus Tavares 07 says, I got an 06 F-250 6-liter with a small motor oil drip. Should I use AT205? I can't find the source of the leak. Okay, well, go ahead and try it. First, change the oil and filter so it's clean. It works best with clean oil. Then put it in. If you have an oil seal leak, that can rejuvenate the oil seals. Now, if you have a valve cover gasket leak or oil pan gaskets leaking, nothing fixes that other than taking it apart, putting a new gasket in and bolting it back on. Realize that. But if it is an oil seal, that can help oil seals from leaking, because oil seals are rubber seals and they have a spring on the inside that holds them on. So if the rubber's rejuvenated, the spring holds it on tight and it won't leak. The stuff that are just plain gaskets, no, it won't help them at all. Kunj NP says, Scotty, how come my car won't downshift when I accelerate? Okay, that's called the passing gear, that when you step on a gas, it's supposed to go to the next lower gear. Like if you're in fourth gear and you floor it, it's supposed to go down to third gear. If you got a really, really old car, they actually have cable that when you step on it hard, the cable pulls it to make it downshift. But all the modern ones are electronic. If yours is an electronic car and it won't do it, you got a problem in the electronics. Now, sometimes just being low on fluid will do that. Check your fluid level. It's low on fluid, it can do it. But on most modern cars, they're electronic, and you got some kind of electronic problem that's not telling it to go down to the next lowest gear. You'd want a mechanic to scan it, see what's going on inside the transmission. It might have a transmission code to show where the problem is. MSA Quality Incorporated says, Scotty, I got a rattling noise on a cold start for 2/3 of a second on my Jeep Cherokee 212 3.6 Pentastar engine. What could it be? I take care of it. I can't think of anything. You bought the wrong vehicle. Those 3.6 Pentastar engines are not that well made. You know, Fiat Chrysler thing. They often rattle because the timing chains start to go out on those things. Have a mechanic listen to it, and if that's the case, you're going to get at least a tensioner, maybe a whole timing chain, or maybe you should just sell the thing. They are endless money pits as you get older. That thing is now 8 years old. You're going to find out it's going to be a money pit if you keep it for many years longer. The quality is just not there in Jeeps anymore, and especially with those Pentastar engines. When Fiat took over Chrysler, quality wasn't that great to begin with, but it's certainly gone downhill. Ramones fan 69 says, hey, Scotty, my old 84 300ZX Turbo puffs oil sometimes under load, but never otherwise. What could it be? It's either your piston rings are worn, or more likely the valve seals are bad on the engine. When you really gun it, then that strains the engine more. And that thing is what? 36 years old. That thing is old. And generally, the valve seals seal the oil from getting sucked into the engine on the intake valves when it sucks into fuel. Well, rubber seals, they're 36 years old, they're going to be cracked, and it's generally bad valve seals. You'd have to rebuild the whole engine, big expense. So if it doesn't use much oil, Just live with it. Sage Parsons says, Scotty, what do you think of the Fixed app? F-I-X-D. Not much. They sent me that stuff, and I tried it out. Didn't impress me at all. There's such a fight of people trying to get people to buy their little dongles that plug into the OBD port, and then you use them on your smartphone. There's tons that are better for less money, and there's ones that cost a little bit more money, like the Blue Driver that's $99. That's killer. That does all kinds of stuff. That's done by actual engineers. They're Canadians, and then they get them made in China because it's cheaper to produce them, but the software and everything's done in Canada, so it's excellent. That's what I'd spend my money on. The companies send me, I have like 15 of them up here on the shelf of different ones. Hardly any of them impress me. I've tried out some of the newer ones that were beta versions, and they looked like they had good promise, but then I find out months later, they promised they were going to do all this, then they never upgraded the software, they never upgraded the dongles, and they don't work that well. They say they're going to do a bunch of stuff, but they only do the same thing that a $10 one does, and they're $30 or $40 or more, so be real leery about those. Rafael Barriente says, hey, Scotty, I got a 96 Camry, burns oil in about a month. This is a head gasket issue. Well, if it's a head gasket issue, eventually it would run very poorly because it would stop sealing. It would run like crap. If it runs okay, it's a combination of your piston rings are worn out, the 96, it's a really old vehicle, and the valve seals are rotten and it's sucking oil in the engine. Do change the PCV valve. If it's stuck open, it'll burn a lot of oil. Sometimes it's as simple as that. But if it's not the PCV valve, it's generally not the head gasket, because in a very short period of time, it'll run like crap. And if it goes on for months and months or even years, still runs okay, it's not the head gasket. It's the piston rings or the valve seals going bad. Or the PCV valve, which costs $10 at AutoZone, so go get one of those first. Holston Beck says, Scotty, what do you think about buying a used hearse for a family sedan? The used Cadillacs are a good value. What do you think? All right, I got a customer that does that. I made a video ages ago. If you look through, you'll see in the end I say, subscribe to the Scotty Kilmer channel before it's too late. And I'm in one of the hearses. He bought them in some place in Ohio. The guy sells used hearses, and he went there and bought one and drove it down to Texas. Realize they're gigantic gas hogs. If you don't want a gigantic gas hog and you want to ride around in a hearse, go right ahead. But you said it's a family sedan. I don't know if that family be want to be riding around in a hearse, It kind of has connotations, and if it's a real hearse, a lot of dead bodies rode around that thing. It's not exactly something that most people want to ride around in, but, if you're a family of goths, sure, it would fit right in, and you can get them cheap. There's no arguing that. They can't take people's funerals in really old ones, because, they got to have newer ones that, just like Uber Black, they got to have new fancy black cars. It won't be Uber Black. Well, that's fancy funerals. They don't want old, chunky cars driving people around, so when they get old, they got to sell them. J.E. Auto Detailing says, Scotty, I want to purchase my first vehicle of a budget of $3,000 to $5,000. Thinking about a used Honda Civic. Thoughts? Sure, look around. They're great vehicles. But with any used car, pay a mechanic like me to check it out before you buy it. Just have to, because you have no idea what has happened in the past. Wrecked, flooded, stolen, or whatever. And a good mechanic in an hour, most guys charge maybe $100 like I do. In an hour, they can tell you all kinds of stuff about their vehicle with their scan tool and their years of experience. They are good vehicles. If you're going to get one, before you buy it, have a mechanic check it out. And before you pay a mechanic, at least road test it yourself. And if you see the transmission acts up in a Honda, don't. That's their weak point. If the transmission doesn't shift, go and look at another one. But if it shifts and run good, then have a mechanic check it out. Stang Phenom says, Scotty, is it good to rev an engine with paddle shifters? Now, those electric shifters, well, you got a transmission like that. It's never a good idea to over-rev any engine. It wears things out faster. If you have a dual clutch transmission with the paddle shifters, they were actually designed for that. And it doesn't really bother the transmission itself. But the faster you rev the engine, the faster it's going to wear out. And if you over-rev it and go too far, you can actually blow the engine. They're only made to go so fast. And if you push the boundaries of RPMs to the red zone and leave it there, goodbye engine. So don't go too crazy. Turley Khan says, Scotty, could you please tell us which car repair database will be good? All Data versus Mitchell. Well, I'm a fan of All Data. I have been using them for 3 decades. Yes, 3 decades. And the advantage of them is they have it all for professional mechanics like me, but they also sell alldatadiy.com for do-it-yourselfers. So you can get a year subscription for like $29, I believe, where the mechanics one is $2,000 to $3,000 a year. You can get one for just like 29 bucks a year for your car, and each additional car is like 20 bucks or something. So it's one heck of a deal for all that information. I've tried them both, and I find the All Data is really the best for the money.
So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.